BakuBrad96 back with another deck profile for everyone. This time it is a special Halloween elemental deck profile. That is right. It is featuring my 3 elemental Bakugan that I am very lucky and happy to have. I was so happy to finally find the elemental Demork and round out the team. So now I finally have a full elemental squad. I'm very excited about this deck. I worked on it for a very long time. I actually have it sleeved. I look forward to showing all of it to you because I think this is a deck I am definitely going to stick with. So I'm looking forward to all of your opinions. Please let me know what you think down below. Before we get right into the deck profile though, I do have a super favor to ask everyone. Right now my channel shows that 74% of you are not subscribed, but you are viewing. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you are not subscribed already. The more subscribers I have, the more I plan to give back to the community, and that is in giveaways and content alike. As my Bakucrew or as my subscribers grow, I definitely want to give back and show my gratitude and my thankfulness to all of you, because I know that I couldn't possibly do any of this without you and your support, and just the amount of subscribers I have already in just a month's time is really amazing, and I'm very thankful for that. So I do have the Elemental Dragonoid Ultra giveaway ongoing. I want to remind everyone the winners of that one will be announced on the 3rd, and directly after, on the 4th of November, I will be launching the 2nd giveaway. So like I said, go ahead and subscribe, that way you can have a chance at free Bakugan stuff, because who doesn't like that? You know, that is really awesome, and it's really no downside for anyone. But enough of that, I definitely want to show off this awesome deck profile. So to start things off, we'll go ahead and take a look at the character cards. I mean, some of you and most of you already know, but we'll go ahead and go over everything because just wow, so awesome. Elemental squad for the win. Starting off, we have Demork Ultra, has 2 Green Fist, a B power of 700 and 4 damage. Then we have Dragonoid Ultra, has a Flaming Fist and a Green Fist, B power of 1000, which is super sick, really strong, a damage of 2. And then, of course, Lightning Vortex, or Fennica Ultra, with a Orange Shield, Green Fist, B power of 800, and 2 damage. Next up is the core lineup. So this is a heavy Green Fist deck again. I know a lot of my deck profiles tend to be that, but that is just how it works out, unfortunately. I try to keep things as different as I possibly can. So the Orange Shield I run is a trap. It is the only trap core on the deck. It is a -300 B power. I didn't see a whole lot of different options that would really benefit the deck the most outside of the generic +300. So I decided and opted for a trap. For a tech choice, maybe just a different option. The deck also doesn't have a lot of debuffs either, so I took that into account. The Red Fist the deck runs is a +250 B power and +3 damage. Probably the strongest Flaming Fist or Red Fist you can use, so I went ahead and went with it instead of the mainly all damage, which I believe gives you +6. I wanted the B power buff because I felt like I would need it more. And next up, I do run 2 +3 damage and then -1 energy from Bakugear. These help because the Bakugan I run, you know, the Elemental Squad, their damage isn't all that high, so getting the extra damage in would really help. I feel like the deck itself does put up enough B power, so I wanted to focus mainly on damage. That's kind of what the deck is. I guess it's like a damage fist deck of a sort, but I kept it as synergistic and as, I don't know, consistent as possible, I guess you could say. So +100 B power, 2 of these, and then Pyrus and Chaos get +3. I chose these because Dragonoid and Fennica have really low damage, and I feel like they would benefit the most, rather than having one for Darkest, which would usually give an opponent or give an attribute bonus to something that I don't have. Excuse me, faction bonus to something I don't have, and I didn't want to do that. And really quick, because they are precious jewels of the channel, They are very dear to my heart because I am so happy to finally have an elemental squad. We'll go ahead and show them off. We have, of course, Elemental Demork, looking just awesome. Next up, everyone has seen quite a good bit of, but love it nonetheless, is our Lightning Vortex, or Elemental Finnica. And then arguably the face of Bakugan itself, we have, of course, Dragonoid. This is the Elemental Dragonoid Ultra. And without further ado, I definitely want to go ahead and get into the deck profile. You know I'm running Darkest, so here it is again, always, every deck profile. You know it's very good for me. It is the 1 energy cost Body Crusher. -4 damage and you get to scan. I've said it a dozen times, I will continue to say it, one of my favorite cards. If I have a Darkest Bakugan in the deck, this is right beside it. One cool thing to note though is this is actually the only debuff or minusing damage card in the deck, aside from flip cards that of course, block attacks. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to keep things different, and since this was my elemental deck, I wanted to make it special. So this is really, really good. I want to keep this deck. It's sleeved. Got those sleeves on there because I really want to try it out. But let's go ahead and keep going. So I have 2 Crushing Shadows, 1 energy for plus 200 B power, and 1 Frost Strike. 2 Electric Howl, 1 energy for plus 2 damage and plus 1 Frost Strike. 2 Ray of Pyrus, 1 energy for plus 3 damage, and then it has the Stoke ability. So when you play the card, you can pay an additional 2 energy, and if you do, you gain the effect a second time. So you can look at this as a 1 energy cost for 3, or a 3 energy cost for 6, which either way, it is a very good card. A little hint of Stoke there. There's not a lot of Stoke in the deck, but in this particular card, I wanted to take advantage of such a low cost, high damage value. Next up, I have 2 Flash Attack, 2 energy for plus 5 damage. Pretty straightforward, not a bad cost for a pretty decent amount of damage. Again, I focus the deck mainly around damage because that is what Green Fists are good for. I'm looking mainly at this plus 3 damage, and then the plus 3 to Chaos and Pyrus. It could really stack up, and with the right cards, this deck is looking in to end it very quickly with just a lot of damage cards. So I do have some B power additions. This is Scarf Strike. I have 2 of them. 2 energy for plus 500 B power. Just so you can win the brawl game. Sometimes it does come up and you do need the extra B power. And then I have 2 Stinging Web Snare. 2 energy for plus 200 B power and plus 6 damage. So again, it gives a little bump to the B power, but focusing mainly on that damage. This deck wants to win, and it wants to win quickly. Then I have 2 Throw Anything, 2 energy for plus 400 B power, and Shadow Strike. I would argue running 3, but I wanted to keep the deck consistent. So as you notice me going through the profile, everything is at 2 of. I have very few 3 ofs, and that's why. But again, using Shadow Strike, you can't reduce that damage. Huge deal there. Arguably a key to any Green Fist deck that has access to the Chaos faction. We have Energy Vortex. It is a 3 energy cost Bakugear that gives the Bakugan 300 B power, 0 damage, but when you play it, you can attach a Green Fist from the field to an open Bakugan. Again, running a Green Fist strategy, I've talked about it in my Mono Chaos deck profile, kind of the same idea. We're just working to place those Green Fist cores where we want them and use them arguably better than if you would just land on them, per se. Following up with that, we actually have 3 Fusion Flames, 3 energy for plus 800 B power. That is a low cost for a very high upside in my opinion. You're getting more than double the B power off the energy ratio there. So I really, really like this card, and why not use it when you have access to the double faction? Very good. So I definitely wanted 3 because this deck plays mainly on damage, but I think this really reinforces your B power in a pinch. So that is why I run it at 3 rather than the 2. Following that, I do have 2 Meteor Storm, 3 energy for plus 4 damage, and you get to draw a card. This deck is really low cost. Like, I think the highest card I have in here is 4, and that is where the energy curve taps out. So I didn't want a whole lot of draw power, but I wanted to include a little bit, so that's why these 2 are in here. Again, a huge damage bump, and the draw really helps. In times, you don't want to take away from your life total, but to be able to draw a card when you need that extra card, it does help. Then I have 2 Pyrus Spark, 3 energy for plus 300 B power, so a little more even and not great, but where this card comes in handy is with the plus double strike. So this in tandem with the other low cost cards, on a later turn, turn 6 or turn 7 perhaps, when you have access to energy and you can play multiple of your cards, you really want to work and combo them out. And this in tandem with some of the low cost 1 energy or 2 energy cards such as Flash Attack really works, because then you have like 5 for plus 10 and so on with the 300 B power. Following that, we are getting into the higher end of the deck. So we have 3 Drum Wave, 4 energy to attach a Bakucrew from the field to an open Bakugan, and then it has the Domination ability. So if your Bakugan are holding the most Bakucrews, that Bakugan gets plus 3 Frost Strike as well. So the deck doesn't use a lot of core control, because I know everyone has seen that in one of my other deck profiles. I use that heavily in my Mono Chaos, so I didn't want to throw all the Mono control into this deck. I wanted to keep it different. But because I only have access to Green Fists, I wanted some way to use my opponent's cores without relying on landing on them. So this really works good for that reason. Then I have 2 Pyrus Overload, 4 energy for plus 500 B power, and you remove all Bakucrews attached to a Bakugan and place them onto the field. So again, kind of core control, but it is a Pyrus card. It gives you B power. It is really versatile, and it can help in a pinch. Also want to deal with enemy Bakucrews that can be troublesome. Definitely liked including this card. That'll do it for all the Baku action, Baku gear, and all those cards. So we're going to finish off the deck profile with the flip, which is what I like to do. We'll go quickly through these because I know everyone has seen them. I did choose to run only 1 Darkest Snare in this deck instead of the 2. I wanted to keep the flips down, and I wanted to use as many different ones as possible to be versatile, so I could actually block attacks rather than just burn through cards and waste deck space. So, Darkest Snare blocks a Bakugan holding a Magic Shield for 0. Dazzle blocks the Bakugan holding a Helix for 0. Confuse blocks the Bakugan holding a Flaming Fist or Magic Shield for 1. Constrictor blocks the Bakugan holding a Green Fist or a Helix for 1. Divine Wall blocks a Chaos or Fusion Bakugan for 1. Pyrus Stopper Slam blocks a Pyrus or Fusion Bakugan for 1. Sonic Shield blocks the Bakugan holding a Green or Flaming Fist for 1. And finally, Weapons of Darkest. For 1 energy, it blocks a Bakugan holding a Darkest or Fusion Bakugan. And that will do it for the deck profile. A very interesting deck in my opinion. Again, I try to make it probably like the best deck I've ever made in my opinion. I really worked hard on it, so I definitely want feedback. Be gentle. I don't want anyone to like rip it to shreds, but I could use some ideas or pointers if any of you have any suggestions. Other than that, there were a lot of honorable mentioned cards that I wanted to go over. Cards that I didn't quite know how to fit in, or cards that I didn't have more of that I really wanted to. And those cards are Holy Flame. It is a Chaos card for 1 energy, plus 300 B power, and if that Bakugan is holding a Green Fist, it is plus 600 instead. So the reason I didn't run this card, pretty stupidly, is because I didn't have another copy. Again, I wanted the... what is it called? Sorry, I'm brain farting here, but consistency, that's it. I wanted the consistency over functionality this one time. So I wanted to keep cards either at a 2 of or a 3 of ratio rather than having a bunch of singleton cards I have to rely on getting for just 1 or 2 power plays. I wanted those combos consecutively for the consecutive wins. So, with that being said, I wish I had another one. You know, having access to Chaos and the fact that this is somewhat a Green Fist deck, well, this is just awesome because it gives you a huge power boost for only 1 energy, which is crazy because, you know, you can set it up to where you land on that Green Fist. Maybe not if you brawl as badly as I do, but, you know, if you know what you're doing, really good cards. So I would probably take out the Scarf Strike and put in 2 of these because Scarf Strike is, you know, 2 energy for plus 500. This is way better circumstantially, but overall. Then Mega Punch for arguably the same reason. Just 1 energy, you know, you can attach a Green Fist from the field to an open Bakugan. That might not seem like much, but when you start comboing this card off with other cards, like I said, that damage really adds up, and that's important because it's not always expected when you have a bunch of these cards. But again, I only had 1 of, so I didn't want to run it. The same can be said about this next card, Darkest Piercer. Definitely missing out with this one because I am running Chaos and Darkest. A 0 energy cost for plus 200 B power and to scan is phenomenal. There really shouldn't be any excuse to not run this in the build other than I only have the 1 and it bothers me. I guess I'm just so OCD and weird about that, but if I ever do pick up another one, this will definitely be slotted in, no doubt about that. Fire Floor, same reason. I wouldn't know where to put it in, but just plus 2 damage into scan for 1. I thought it might be good, and I would throw it on the honorable mentions list because it's not a bad card. Darkest Slayer, again, you'll see a lot of these on here just because I only have 1 of them. This is the same deal because it's 1 energy for 200 B power, which isn't too awful, and 2 damage, so gives you a little bump on everything at only 1 energy. Trailing Dragon is a little different. I did have 2 of it, but this card kind of bothered me. I wasn't sure if it was worth the 3 energy cost to play it, because 200 B power for 3 isn't a whole lot. The 4 damage is nice, but again, I really didn't know if it would come up enough to play it, and the 3 energy for 300 B power and plus double strike with the Pyrus Spark or whatever was way better in my opinion than this. And also the secondary ability I don't think would come up a whole lot, which is if you energize this from your hand, you can pay 2 to draw a card. So I didn't really see that coming up, and I didn't know if it was worth 3 energy. Inferno Wings, again, I wasn't really sure about this. I only have the 1 of. I decided to run the Pyrus Overload over this one because I already had cards that costed 3 energy, but I didn't have a lot of 4 or higher. This one, a little weaker, you know, it only gives plus 300, but it does remove all Bakugan enemy from Bakugan and negate their effects, rather than just the 1. So, depending on how you look at it, it's better than, it's worse than. I was in an iffy situation only having the single copy, so yeah, definitely put it on the list. And then again, so here's an odd one. Energy Sphere I thought really hard about including. You know, it's a 1 energy cost rapid fire card, so the second rapid fire card you play is free, but the main thing is you get to reroll your Bakugan. That is why I wanted to put it in here. I don't have very many, if really any at all, rapid fire cards. I do have the Energy Sphere, the Lava Blade, and then a card I will be showing next. So I didn't know if it was worth putting in because I didn't have a whole lot of rapid fire, and I didn't know if that reroll effect would really matter as opposed to more damage cards or more B-power cards. The same goes with this next one. It is the Darkest Pyrus Pulverizer. It is a 5 energy, so it would actually make my curve a little higher because, again, the highest I go up to is 4, and as you all saw before, I only had like 5 of those anyway. But this one's pretty cool. So for 5 energy, you get plus 5 damage, and then you return this to your hand. It also has the rapid fire ability. So to play the Energy Sphere and then get this for free, if it ever came up, would be nice. Like, it really would be nice. But because I only had 1 of this, I don't know. I just decided not to. I decided to go with something else. Let me know if it was a bad choice. Should I try it out as a one of? Am I crazy? What do you all think? And then finally for the honorable mentions, we have Righteous Strike. 3 energy for plus 6 damage, and you get to draw 1, but it has the ability of Trifecta. If your Bakugan have 3 or more Bakukores attached to them, you can return this to your hand. So kind of the same. You could use them as one-ofs, return it to your hand, play it again and again and again. But I didn't know if it was worth the slot because of the Trifecta. I didn't know if that would come up. I do have some core control cards that attach, but again, not a whole lot. So I just wasn't really sure. And that'll do it for the honorable mentions. I apologize for the longer video, but I definitely wanted to go more in-depth with this one. It is definitely my favorite deck I have built so far, and I'm very happy to bring you all content that I enjoy because I hope all of you enjoy it too.